Well, I don't have my headset, and I haven't made a video in a long time, and you'll probably see watermarks on this, all of which I intend to fix. Hopefully producing more videos. I'll be getting a headset again, so the sound is improved, and I have written to the folks that produce this recorder that I'm using, this digital or desktop video recorder, because I actually paid for the unlock code, and the one they sent me didn't work. Focusing on magic, so I've made lots of changes to Aloro since January, which is I think the last video you may have seen. Um, Hard to go over them all really quickly, but basically I've got some test cards in here, and I've pulled a few cards that I've been using for a long time. I pulled out Sculpting Steel because I needed a slot. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to test uh, the scry mechanic, playing it heavily, and see if I can smooth out games. I feel like the deck's very powerful, so if you just have increasing consistency, should win more games that way. Um, Cards that I'm using with this mechanic are Condescend and Dissolve. I also put in Ponder and Preordain. They're basically like Scry or better in Ponder's case. And I'm running a Temple of Deceit and Enlightenment for a total of 30 lands, and I'll scroll down so you can see the rest of the lands. Scroll back up. Anyway, I want to show you a amazing game, and I really hope that this game does not glitch out. If this gets hit by the magic bug, I'm going to be like just mortified. It's um, one of the best games I've had in a long time. So anyway, my opponent is playing this Horde of Notions, and I'm playing Aurora, of course. When I see Horde of Notions instead of excuse me, Sliver Queen, I have a tendency to assume my opponent is not as good because this is a generally worse card than Sliver Queen. But based on that, well, my first hand's clearly mulligan. Based on that, I decided to mulligan or keep a little more aggressively than I normally would. I kept this hand here, even though it's not optimal, but I have a way to go get mana, so I figured um, his deck's probably pretty bad and I'd be okay. Plus, because I was on the play. So the game starts out according to plan. I skip a turn in order to get Imperial Seal. And he just does some development that's not really important. And I'm able to play Lantern Grim. So I figured I'm all set up for Teferi next turn. I'll be way ahead on mana. I'll start drawing extra cards. And on the same turn, I'll be able to Expedition Map, Strip Mine him, and even Disenchant if he has a target. That should be enough of an advantage to probably win the game. But my opponent plays Frantic Search. Discarding Urabrask and Body Double. Odd. And then reanimates Urabrask, plays Demonic Tutor, and goes face. This is not good. I don't think this is a great card in reanimation, but I can understand why you'd run it just since everything else gets haste. But this is not good for me because it kind of shuts off the whole plan with the Teferi. My deck coughs up a top deck Terminus, and normally I would hold it and wait for a better value, but because I'm trying to set up the Teferi play, I'm just going to clear and hope that whatever he Demonic Tutored for isn't painful enough where I'm so that I'll be able to play Teferi, next turn. And I figured if I had to, I could always tap 3 Expedition Map into Ancient Tomb and then disenchant a target if I absolutely had to. Like I don't know what he could play that would make me do that. I mean, maybe Energy Flux or something. But he most likely tutored for either the Tomb or the Sneak Attack, one or the other. I'm like, this isn't good, but hopefully it just does damage, like Urabrask and whatnot. Hopefully it does not kill my permanents. And besides, even if it kills one, I'm okay. But look at this, Ashen Rider. So when it comes into play, he exiles a permanent. When it dies, he exiles a permanent. Holy crap, that's horrible. I know it says haste on, I'm taking some damage here. So it's going to die and exile a permanent. So I wait for him to die, hoping that he'll target the untapped Grim Monolith, which would be a huge mistake. But it would give me a, He may be afraid of what I could do with the 3 mana, but he correctly targets the Chromatic Lantern, which is the worst possible outcome for me. So I sack Expedition Map, and because I'm so mana shy, I have to generate mana. I need a lot of it. I have to get Ancient Tomb, even though I can't cast Teferi. This also means that I need to pop the Disenchant right now while I can still produce white, so I go ahead and take out Sneak Attack. But what a horrible position, I mean, for me to be in. And I top deck Jace, which is great if I can draw another blue. Otherwise, not so much. So his turn's kind of a dud, but he's getting up the Horde mana, and then that thing, besides being 5 damage, that thing is threatens to kill me with commander damage quickly, and that is, it's actually a turn slower than Sliver Queen, but it's still problematic. So I grab a Fabricate. Now I was really thinking here, like, what do I go get? The problem is I really want to ramp up in mana, so I want like Mana Crypt or Soul Ring right here, but I also really need colored mana. So, I mean, if I had 5 available, if I still had my shop, it'd be easy. Gilded Lotus would do all of the above. If I had 4 mana, I could Calendar Gem, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But I have neither, so I figure the best thing I can do here, and I don't know if it was right in hindsight, maybe I should have grabbed Crypt, but I figure the best thing I can do here is get Crucible of Worlds, because if I can get Crucible down next turn, even though I'll be, you know, it takes a few turns to get my hand going, but once that hits, then the pressure on my mana base comes off, and then I'll be all right. Oh yeah, that was the other thing he did. He suspended a Lotus, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that. So my graveyard, his graveyard, his Lotus, and all that good stuff. So I just need 1 turn to get down the Crucible, and then it should be okay. Hopefully. So he's thinking about it, and he Living Deaths. So Body Double jumps out along with Ashen Rider. Body Double has nothing to clone, so it immediately dies. Rider. So Ashen Rider exiles Ancient Tomb. I mean, this just really doesn't seem like it could get much worse. Oh, also, look at that. I would have been able to cast Jace right here. Instead of Crucible, I would have been able to play the Jace, and then I would have been alright. Lotus Bloom with 1 counter. I'm going to be taking 5 per turn, and if I kill that thing... Fortunately, thank goodness it's not written the way Revival Arc is. If you kill it, he gets to exile permanent, but not if you exile it or otherwise bounce it with Jace or something like that. So I'm eating damage. So what's like the best possible thing I could draw here? Probably Mana Crypt? What's the next best? I don't know, I'm running out of best possible things that I could draw. But that's a pretty good one. Doesn't get me out of the problem that I'm in. Excuse me, but it should help. So his Lotus Bloom comes down. We'll close his suspend area. So he's got 3 cards in hand and a butt ton of mana. I've got 4 cards in hand and 2 blue. There's Undertaker. Undertaker's kind of bad, potentially, because he can discard anything he wants to copy to pick up Body Double and then play the Body Double, which will, of course, clone the thing he just discarded. A lot like a Survival, basically. So, didn't really want to see that hit, but I can't afford to mana drain a 2-drop. I'm not getting in the game if I do. And he doesn't play his commander or something juicy, like some kind of juicy target for me. And I drew Rift, not a land. Not good. I mean, maybe I could giant mana drain and I could Rift, but I don't think that would really help me. I could stall by bouncing his Lotus Bloom, I guess. But I want him to use it, pump it into a big mana spell for me. So he obliges. He's floating 2 green and plays his commander. That's a 5 mana drop. That's sufficient. I'll take it. Need the mana. He plays Victimize. So he actually lets his commander die so that he can victimize, sacking the Undertaker in order to put 2 creatures into play. Body Double will then clone the Undertaker, so he really lost nothing. Basically, he just traded a Victimize for not having to play his commander for 7 mana. and being able to start going face with it right away. Luckily I drew a land here. So what do? You can pause the video and think about it, but I'll show you how I played this hand out. Fairy comes down and untaps. I float blue and then I untap everything. Chase comes down. I immediately draw because I need to find a win. There's Tezzeret. In hindsight, excuse me, the play I make here is, it's hard to say whether or not it was right or not, but I put back Watery Grave with the Signet on top, anticipating playing Crucible of Worlds next turn. I don't know though, I might have been better off putting the Crucible on top and then just tapping the Grim and playing the Signet here. I have extra mana for the next turn, but I'm looking at possibly playing a Tezzeret next turn. So, alright, well, it doesn't look like, I mean, if you're me, you're not thinking that you're going to win this game. You're not thinking that you're going to do much here at all. I'm feeling pretty unhappy about my board position. So he sends, rightly attacking both of my planeswalkers. The one that I find to be most important and the one I need to protect the most is the one that's producing 7 mana for me. So I Cyclonic Rift to protect the Fairy. And then his play for the turn is pretty easy. He just replays his Horde of Emotions. Kind of interesting there because that's probably one of the few times he could have actually Undertakered a Horde, thrown it into his sideboard, and picked up another creature. But he didn't have anything, so it doesn't matter. And then he riffs my freaking Teferi. Ouch. So I was planning on Teferi and Tezzeret here. Now, that is a major setback. And all I can really do here is Crucible. I know the next card's land, so I'm going to fetch at the end of his turn. I'm taking a beating, and it's happening fast. Plus, he has the potential to draw something nice. He's only got 2 cards left in hand. But this game is just awful for me. He's had so much pressure on my mana base. But look at this lovely top deck. Copy Artifact. Copy Artifact opens up the possibilities that I might not lose the game. Copy Artifact actually means that if I can just have one more turn, I have a good chance of getting back in this game. It just shows you how good a Crucible of Worlds is, but also how good I think this deck is at recovering. So I'm at 11, so end of turn. I'm also running out of things to fetch with my fetch lands. He drew a land, which was really important for me. I mean, more pressure probably would not have worked out too well. Got one more card I can fetch with that Verdant. End of the turn, I untap the Grim, which is key. And what a lovely top deck that was. So, I add up all the mana, and it works out perfectly. I clear his hand, taking Duplicate Karmic Guide. It's fantastic. Go ahead and fetch and take some more damage. 3, precisely. I'm able to play Teferi. If you actually do the math on it, I'm going to close. We all know I'm playing the Laurel. So, well, that's funny. Alright, so Teferi, using 4 permanents, I can cast Teferi, so he costs 0 mana right there. That allows me to cast Tezzeret, and what do you fetch? Well, here's a hint. X equals 4. Boom. Phyrexian Metamorph. Metamorph becomes the Ashen Rider, who conveniently exiles things so that I don't have to worry about him reanimating them. So I immediately remove his guy, which would let him dig up Karmic Guide in the Duplicate or whatever. And Metamorph makes this an artifact, and this is why Copy Artifact was key. I get a second Ashen Rider to exile his other Ashen Rider, which will no longer be coming back. And I have 2 5/5 Zabaka's Commander. I mean, to protect Teferi and Crucible position, because I actually have to protect my life total at 9. And all of a sudden, just like that, I'm in the game. So what does he top deck? He had no cards. I mean, I mind twisted him this turn. So he sends, I predictably block This guy goes to the command zone, which is great. Costs a little more. When Ashen Rider dies, I get to exile a permanent, so I take his Ancient Tomb to make it harder for him to play his commander. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's going to be able to replay it once. He draws. I don't know what he drew or top deck, but it didn't look good there. It wasn't anything there. So I can't use my Verdant anymore to get mana. So I have to ferry up for Fact or Fiction. Sorry, it's my son's toy there. He's a 1-year-old. Anyway, so I Fact or Fiction looking for a counterspell, because if I can just protect my position, I think this game's over. And he makes a split like this. I'm really tempted to just take Humility, because if I take Humility and play it, then his whole reanimation thing is kind of out the window. And I have to Fairy and Crucible to start winning. But I figured if I take Well, on the other hand, if I take Well, I've got the Ashen guy in play, so even if he reanimates something, when it dies, I'll exile whatever he gets. Meanwhile, Well can draw me tons of cards, and with Crucible, I'm basically taking 2 lands in a Well, so it's really Humility or Well is what the choices come down to. And because I can cast the Well, I take pile 2, I take the Well, and I play it. And he top decked, remember he has no cards in hand. Makeshift Mannequin, targeting Karmic Guide, targeting Duplicate, targeting my Ashen Rider, means it doesn't die. But luckily, it's a Metamorph, a 0/0 Metamorph, so Duplicate falls over dead, and he's not going to be a 5/5 to kill my Teferi. Get another turn with Teferi. He decides not to pay the Karmic Guide Echo, which makes perfect sense, because now he can play his commander, kill the Teferi, and I don't get another turn with him. So we'll find out if Well would have been better than Humility. Yeah, I think it probably was. So I replay the Arid Mesa for a Tundra. Fairy continues producing 6 mana every turn like he normally does, which allows me to Karn. Demonic Tutor. And what do you get? Boom. Game, set, match. Winner or block. And now he's got 1 card in hand. I have a Karn. I've got Winter Orb with the Teferi. There's no coming back from this. And an active Well. And we'll just spin through the rest of this game kind of quickly. You want to see how the deck works. I start just playing tricks, manipulating things, making sure that it's mathematically impossible for him to win. Slowly gaining life. Use top tricks to make sure that my Dark Confidant never deals more damage than I'm willing to take. Fairy continues to produce tons and tons of mana for me. At this point, he's already made something like 24 mana for a 6 mana investment. Good. Oh no, he's made a little bit more than that actually, because now I'm under tapping one Power Stone. But anyway, so this turn I fetch myself a Gilded Lotus just to make sure that I get my gem, land, say go. Seems like a pretty dominant board position given the beginning of this game. How fast this deck just takes over and then just grabs hold, puts you in a chokehold, and there's just no coming out back from it. So end of turn, I bounced my Winter Orb on that. He played a land. He had nothing in play, so I didn't need an orb. I can replay the orb. As you can see, it's just getting completely out of hand now. So I +1 the Teferi in order to prevent him from being killed. Continue to suppress his mana base. Fetch myself a Vamp. Activate top to get what I've got, which was Will. And I use Will to play Tez. Clone a Gilded Lotus. Drop the orb back down. Throw away a bunch of crap. And incoming lethal damage. Play land, strip, and tap lands, and send in the team. Thump. Negative 41 damage. Well, I hope you enjoyed the absolute crazy recovery. That was one of the best recoveries that I think I've had in a really long time. I'm so excited that the replay actually came through. And again, this is a deck Like I said, Temple of Enlightenment, Deceit, Ponder, Preordain, Condescend, Dissolve. These are all kind of test cards, but I am pretty happy with particularly Dissolve and Condescend. The rest, we'll see. There's a lot of possibilities that they could be. What I'm not playing is Lindell's Vault, Necropotence, Sculpting Steel. Those aren't in. Um, Sculpting Steel because I had to make a cut. I would very much like it, but that's just the way it goes. Necropotence because I found that it's kind of like if I have triple black, yes, I win, but the rest of the time it's dead, and so it's like it's more power for less consistency. Whereas I want to go the other direction, I can go a little less power for more consistency. Um, but anyway, like I said, we'll see, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.